Hypnosis to Change Your Life with Dr. Steve G. Jones. As a new hypnotist or hypnotherapist, depending on the legality in your area, how should you price everything? Well, let me take you back in the past. Let's go back in time now to, we won't go back to the 80s. We'll go back to about, let's say 2002. And I was in Beverly Hills, and I wasn't in Beverly Hills yet. I will take you back to 2001. In 2002, I moved to Beverly Hills. Better office, better price. But in 2001, I was practicing in Los Angeles. I moved to Los Angeles and I was practicing, and I believe I was charging $50. This is for hypnotherapists, this segment here for hypnotherapists who want to figure out how to charge clients. I was charging $50 my first session is 2 hours. So I was charging $50 for a 2-hour session. That's for 2 hours. I then decided, so the first session was $50 for 2 hours. I think follow-ups were $35 for 1 hour, I believe, at that point. Before this, my prices were even lower. So in 2002, I raised that to $150 for the first 2 hours, and I believe it was $75 for follow-ups. So here we have the same per hour. And then another hypnotherapist talked to me, it just kind of sat me down, cornered me actually, and said, Steve, you have got to raise your prices, because when you raise your prices, the perception of value goes up. And I said, no, I don't think so, because these were challenging economic times. We had things going on around that time that were affecting the economy. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. And she said, you've got to do it. Just trust me on this. So I raised my rates. This is somewhere around 2003. I raised my rates to $250 for the first 2 hours, and I believe it was $150 per hour for follow-up, for the 1 hour follow-up. When I in this column, it's every session after the first session. The next call I got, I'd moved my office to Beverly Hills. I raised my rates. The next call I got was from a celebrity, and who asked me how much I charge. I said $250, because she also coached me on that. She said, when someone asks you what you charge, what are you going to tell them? I said, well, I guess I'll say $250. She said, no. When somebody asks you how much you charge, what are you going to tell them? I said, $250. When somebody asks what you charge, what are you going to tell them? I said, $250. She said, that's right. The very next call I got, I used to answer my own calls that time, I was the office, was a celebrity. And he asked how much I charge, and I said $250. Didn't pause, didn't take a beat, no pause whatsoever. When can I come in? I am convinced that if I hadn't had my rates at $250, if I was down here at $50, he would have thought, wait a minute, is this quality? Is this quality that you're offering? Now, this was during a time when the economy was in bad shape. The United States has had an attack, and we were not looking good. People didn't want to spend anything. A lot of things closed down around that time. You may remember we had after the World Trade situation, we had a lot of things just go kaput. A lot of financial things. So I was raising my rates around a time when and things were not looking so good. They hadn't pulled out of that by any means. They're suffering. People were losing their jobs. Things were closing down. Movies that were planned to be shot were canceled. That's the way it looked back then. And I was raising my rates, and I thought, what, am I crazy? Well, I did that with the celebrity, and then it felt good. And everyone after that was that rate. Now, here's another thing I noticed. People who can pay $250 have friends who can pay $250. So I started getting those clients. Well, after that, I raised my rates. I believe it was I will move ahead forward now. I moved to Savannah, Georgia. I think in 2009, I raised it to $2,500, and maybe this was 2006 probably. I think in 2009, I raised it to $25,000, and that's when everybody said, wait a minute, what are you talking about, $25,000? The reason I did that is because I was spending more time making recordings that help the world. my 1 hour or my 2 hours in a recording studio would generate much more money than that over my lifetime. So I started realizing that my 2 hours was actually far more valuable than $25,000. And a person's asking for my time one-on-one for 2 hours, I started valuing my time at that, and that was a low estimate. Cut down on my patient load drastically, but you know, still seeing people. But that was a move so that I could have more time to do the recordings that I needed and show everybody how I valued my time, because that was actually a low estimate. I don't necessarily recommend these moves until you're ready to move more into a production of hypnosis recordings full-time rather than seeing clients, because this is going to lower your patient load. But I recommend being about here, $250 for the first session, $150 for follow-ups. And you may say to me all day long, Steve, the economy is in bad shape. I don't think I can do that. I'm here to tell you, I did this during a time when the economy was in really bad shape and I didn't think I could do it. And it worked out just fine. So that's my 2 cents on what you should charge.
Hypnosis to change your life with Dr. Steve G. Jones.